Our limited government with its decentralized powers has given way to planners, and they've laid an increasingly heavy hand on every facet of our lives. To quote de Tocqueville again, he warned that such a government would cover the face of society with a network of small, complicated rules, minute and uniform, and thus the will of man is not shattered, but softened and guided until the nation is reduced to a flock of timid and industrious animals, of which government is the shepherd.
My father told me when I was a child, people in authority lie. And we all, if we are going to continue to live in a democracy, we need to understand that people in authority lie. People in authority will abuse every power that we relinquish to them. And right now, we are giving them the power to micromanage every bit of our lives 24 hours a day. They're going to know where we are. They're going to know the money that we spend. They're going to have access to our children. They're going to have the right to compel unwanted medical interventions on us. The Nazis did that in the camps in World War II. They tested vaccines on gypsies and Jews. And the world was so horrified after the war, we signed the Nuremberg Charter. And we all pledged when we do that, we would never again impose unwanted medical interventions on human beings without informed consent. And yet in 2 years, all of that conviction has suddenly disappeared. And people are walking around in masks where the science has not been explained to them. They are doing what they're told. They are these government agencies are orchestrating obedience, and it is not democratic. It's not the product of democracy. It's the product of a pharmaceutical-driven biosecurity agenda that will enslave the entire human race and plunge us into a dystopian nightmare where the apocalyptical forces of ignorance and greed will be running our lives and ruining our children and destroying all the dreams and dignity that we hope to give to our children.
So that's the world we're living in today. You're being ruled by corporations, and the people who are in power in government are just their puppets and their tools. And if you think there's a bit of fucking difference between the Democrats and the Republicans when it comes to anything regarding your life, you're a chump.
The COVID insanity that we went to, they took something that was, had a seed of truth to it. There was a virus. We won't get into where it came from or anything. It did make some people sick. Okay, we got that. But then these sycophants and these maniacal scientists that were so concerned with their image, them being looked to as an authority on the topic, and the world's leaders are asking them, tell us what the problem is and tell us what the solution is, and we will put the guns of government behind your egos on the matter. And now all this stuff's coming out, and we're finding out that a lot of what they told us is bullshit, and they outright lied and hid truths from the general public. And they even said things like, for the sake of protecting sort of the sanctity of the science. They didn't want to harm people's impression and trust in science. And in so doing, they destroyed a lot of people's trust and faith in science and science in general. And now we have that as a lesson. And so now in other areas like climate change, for example, there may be a seed of truth. Maybe there's some change happening, but unfortunately, we've got these same types of egomaniacal people using that as an excuse to gain power and control and money using the guns of government. And so now we can just say, hey, you're doing that COVID thing again, but you're doing it for this other topic. You're just blowing some shit out of proportion and trying to make a bunch of people scared so you can get rich and powerful. And feel good about yourself with your little ego and stuff. So anyway, I think there's some silver linings in there that we can use in that out of all of this.
Question is, do governments upon what grounds is there a philosophical argument for giving governments the rights that they have, essentially, or that they claim?
Right.
And he just doesn't exist.
Well, that is the truth. That, to me, that's the fundamental libertarian insight,
that's what I thought too.
Is
but
that,
I want to hear why it's anarchist.
It's the logical conclusion of libertarianism to me. It's like, you go, look, if a government claims a right, and then their claim is that they derive these rights from the people.
Right.
Well, how can people give a group rights that they don't themselves have?
To steal from each other.
Right, if we can't tax people, like I can't tax you, where exactly does government derive this right from? And once you come to, you realize that the goal ought to be as voluntary a society as possible. Now, how exactly you achieve that, how far you can push that is debatable, but certainly that should be the goal. That if government is providing a service for you, well then why does it need to be provided by force? Why can't they do what everyone else does, which is compete for your business?
That's right.
You know, I mean, like if the police are the security, I'm sure all of us would be willing to pay for property protection, you know, like, but when we don't have a choice, we don't get a really great service.
That seems like his fundamental issue is the stealing of property
Mm-hmm.
and money, which is like sounds libertarian to me. It's so funny.
I'll tell you what, in my personal life, I feel like my family, my friends from, my non-activist side of my life, they're coming up to me like, I get it now. I thought you were crazy 15 years ago. I thought you were certifiably insane.
And like I've said, we don't even need revolution. The biggest revolution we need is a revolution of consciousness, a revolution of the mind, a revolution where we say, no, you don't own me. I'm not your slave. That would be revolutionary thinking. And it is revolutionary thinking. Stop being a slave, folks. That's how to change the world.
I'm never going to take another vaccine in my life, and I will never trust the government again. I'll also never trust the healthcare system. I'm never going to eat a fucking bug, and I'm never going to comply with lockdowns or masks. I'm never going to believe the mainstream media again. I'm never going to acknowledge your pronouns, and I will never acknowledge a pedophile for anything but that. Although there is one thing I would like to thank our elite pedophiles for. They woke up a group of people that are going to destroy them. I'm here for two things, freedom and up. And I'll tell you right now, I'm running out of freedom.